Sean Putney. I am the Executive Director, CEO at the Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to a very special episode of the Rossifari podcast. Y'all, if you have been listening to this podcast for really the last couple years, you know that there is one facility that I have dreamed of getting to, but haven't had the chance to yet, and that is the Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium. I'm pretty sure it's the only zoo in the country that has all of my top 4 favorite species in it that I haven't been to. Or should I say hadn't been to, since I got to go on my trip out to Kansas, even though Kansas City is Missouri. Well, we count it. It has Kansas in the name, so it works. So this episode is from there, and it features Sean Putney, who is the president and CEO of the zoo. But beyond that, it's got a special guest, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's a really, really fun moment, and I think y'all are really going to like it. So basically, this episode is split up into kind of 3 parts. We start off and we do, your standard interview thing, and that lasts maybe 20 some minutes. And then we head to the penguin ice shelf and do more of the interview actually out in the penguin habitat, and you'll get to hear all about that and about the species they have and stuff. And then we make our way to the aquarium at the zoo, and you're not going to get the full tour of the aquarium. You'll hear more about that when you get to that part. But you're going to hear some really cool stuff and some really neat stories about how the zoo is developing and the next steps and what it took to get an incredibly gorgeous, incredibly state-of-the-art, and honestly incredibly beautiful aquarium built at this zoo. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. You'll also get to hear not just from the special guests that are humans, but from many special guests that are penguins. When we're out on the ice shelf talking, the penguins apparently wanted to help, and so we let them. So there's a lot of fun stuff in this one, and I'm just really grateful to the team for letting me come on out, and for Sean for spending so much time with me. So before we get to that, quick reminder, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our Tuesday interview episodes or any of our Friday Zoo News episodes. Make sure you're following along on the socials at Rossifari and on TikTok at Rossifari Pod. And don't forget that you can support the pod for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. So with all of that said, here is my interview with Sean Putney of the Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium. Enjoy, y'all.
I just help make sure everything goes correctly. So
I like it.
We've been doing we've been improving things for about 20 years now, and every year we seem to have something that's a little bit more enhancing of the program and getting more and more people to come here. We had when I first started back in 2007 in a different position, different capacity as an animal curator, we had about 430 to 450,000 people coming through our front gates, and last year we had 1.27 million. So
that is a lot.
Just showing you how we are perceived in the community and bringing more people in, not only from Kansas City, but from the region and sometimes around the world.
Well, I will tell you, for the last couple of years now, one of the big questions I get from people all the time is, what's the one zoo you haven't been to that you want to get to? And for the last couple of years, the answer has been here.
Oh, that's great.
I've even made it to Kansas City because I'm a touring musician for my day job.
Sure.
And I've made it here, but not in time to get to the zoo. And Zoe will confirm, I am like a child today. Yeah, I think I said this is my Christmas.
Good. We'll show you a good time.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And so I'm curious about a couple of things because I know we're going to, for the listeners, we're going to do kind of a short interview and then we're going to wander and talk some more. But while we're in our shorter interview, I am curious. This is a really big facility, both in terms of size, but more even in terms of the number of species. Yeah. And I'm really curious, especially as the dude at the top, how you handle that and think about that and make sure that all of the animals and all of the taxa are properly cared for and all of that.
Well, number one, you have to have a lot of really good people that surround you. So I don't go around and I just don't have the time to go around and do all that. Although that is where I came from the animal care side of things. But you are correct. We do have a lot of land. I always say the best thing about our zoo is how big it is, and the worst thing about our zoo is how big it is. It's a lot of zoo to take care of. But there are many other directors out there at other zoos and aquariums that look at our zoo and they kind of salivate because of the fact that we have so much space to work with, especially your zoos that are 100 years old or older like ours. They're trapped within the city confines, and you'll see apartments and high rises around their grounds, and they have no space to grow other than up. So that is one thing that being in Swope Park and having 202 acres will do for you. We have plenty of space to grow still, but we do also like the forest around us too. That makes it feel like you're a part of the wildlife. And in the forest, it might not look exactly like the forests of Borneo or Africa. However, you do feel like you're out in nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And like right outside the zoo, I saw there was like a little like lake area and I forget if it was titled like nature preserve or what, but like there was something right out there that I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. Swope Park is that unique setting of being in that forest, and I really love it as opposed to just being surrounded by concrete.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you said you came from the animal side. So like real quick, what was your journey like to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I get a lot of, especially kids will ask me, when did you know you're going to be a director? And the answer to that is really never. About 5 years ago, I suppose it's more like 8 years ago, I started getting the thought of, when our previous director retires, am I interested? But my career started at the Omaha Zoo, Henry Dorley Zoo up in Omaha, as an aquarist. So I took care of fish and invertebrates and slowly just kind of worked my way up from an assistant supervisor, then to a supervisor, assistant curator, and then I was in Omaha for 13 years, and at that point in time, there was an opportunity to come down here to Kansas City and sort of spread my wings, work with obviously different people, but different species too. And so I took it. It was kind of a jump off a cliff, not knowing if that would work or not. And it was some tough times because that was right during the recession, 2007, 2008.
Oof, yeah.
But everything worked out okay. Continue to work up my way up the ladder here as I moved into the general curator position around 2012. And then I became I sort of took some other areas on and became the senior director of living collections, and then chief zoological officer, and then finally to where I'm at today. So kind of just a gradual rise through the system.
That's cool. Now, I'm really curious, as somebody who started with animals and who I'm sure had a passion for that career, was it hard to transition away from that and into the leadership side? And I mean, I assume now that you're dealing with like, big donors instead of big giraffes or, big fish. And that's how is that?
Yeah, certainly some of the fun as you go up the ladder gets taken away because you don't get to work with the animals and be around the other folks who are working with the animals. However, it all kind of intertangles together. And even though, yes, I am doing more fundraising and working with people who are on our board and zoological district and other VIPs and elected officials outside of the zoo. It really all does go back to the animals too. That's our primary mission, is proper care of the animals, make sure they're being taken care of. But it's care of the animals, care of our people, care of our guests. All three of those things need to be taken care of. And really, that's my job, to make sure that we're addressing all of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are some of your favorite species?
Every single staff person wants me to pick an animal from their area. So I always hesitate to answer this in a big setting, but they also all know that I have two in particular. When I was about 5 years old, my grandma and I had this bond around elephants. She would always get me these little elephant trinkets. So I've always had a particular love of elephants. And the other one it's kind of a strange one, and I get an eyebrow rise out of this one from most people. Giant Pacific octopus are one of the first animals that I took care of as an employee up in Omaha. And they're amazing creatures. They can do so many things. Yet they're an invertebrate, yet they're extremely intelligent. Each one of them have different personalities. So I've always had a love for them too. But as a director of a zoo, there's a little piece of every animal in your heart, especially all those new projects that are happening. And you spend a little bit more time in those areas, and you get a little bit more time to spend with the animals there. Yes, those are my two, I would say, but I enjoy all the animal species that are here.
No, totally. That totally makes sense. GPOs are incredible, by the way. Yeah. I've gotten to spend time with a few of them, and one in particular, over the course of a year, I visited multiple times. I was friends with the Aquarium, so I got to meet and hang out and build a relationship with, and they are brilliant. They are incredible. They're playful. They're fun. I'm convinced that if they didn't have such a short lifespan, they would take over the world, because they're literally just the weirdest, most impressive little aliens.
Yeah, that is the hardest thing about that, because you do form a bond with usually animals of higher intelligence, but oftentimes those animals of higher intelligence live a longer lifespan, except for giant Pacific octopus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but they are very cool. So I do get it. And actually, speaking of favorite animals, one thing that I love about here and that I'm excited about here is that there are very few. So I have 4 species that are my favorites.
Okay.
And they're the logo for Rossifari, and they're just all over everything. And they're a weird little group. So it's sea turtles, which I initially fell in love with. And then red pandas, fairly common. Tree kangaroos.
I missed that.
Yeah, I'm wearing a tree kangaroo today. And binturongs. And this is one of the few facilities in the country that has them all, especially with the aquarium situation. It's rare to have sea turtles,
We each one of those seem to be fan favorites here, so you're not alone. Not necessarily them all grouped together.
That's what makes me weird.
But yes, our tree kangaroos, we actually redid their exhibit about 5 years ago. So when you're up and around the zoo, hopefully you'll really enjoy that. Our binturong is actually a part of our program here in the auditorium, where our animal program, where the staff teaches. It's mostly birds, but we do have some other animals. So the binturong is not actually in an animal habitat where you can see it. And then our sea turtle is kind of an amazing story, where and other facilities that have turtles have similar situations. It's owned by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, so a lot of people ask, where do you get your animals? And one of the answers is they're really on loan from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, those rehabilitation moments. Tortellini is our green sea turtle. And she has a situation. She has an injury, probably hit by a boat at a younger age, And you see this all the time at rehabilitation areas where they can't properly buoy themselves. So they have a floating butt syndrome, I like to call it. And it's because of the fact that their nerves were damaged when they were hit by a boat. And so they're not digesting their food properly, and they eat a lot of vegetation, so they have a lot of gas, and there you go, a butt in the air.
Yeah.
But she's a fan favorite, and it's a great story to be able to tell. We have a couple of sea otters that are under the same situation, sea lions, same scenario. So those are great stories to be able to tell folks when they come to visit.
Yeah, no, I'm always a huge fan of the rescues and giving forever homes is pretty special.
Right.
I am curious. So I always find it interesting when I talk to directors, CEOs, that kind of thing. The level of knowledge of like the individual animals at the zoo. And I was a little curious to see where you'd be at with that, just because of how many animals you have here. And it seems like you really know the animals here. How do you build that while, again, having to do like administrative stuff and worry about the icky guests and the amazing staff and all that? And you did not call the guests icky. I did.
Yeah, I would never do that.
No.
That would be a bad turn. My background, number one, it just leads into that. So it is true. There are several different ways that boards can choose to have a leader of their zoo. Some people have business-related folks. Some people have animal-related folks, and everything in between. I personally feel that it's more important to have a director who has an animal background because, again, going back to that's why we're here. That's our mission. But there's no reason why it can't be the other way too. If you're stronger in one area, you have to make sure that you have people that are stronger in other areas who can help you in those times of need. But going back to your question, I don't have all the tidbits of facts that I used to have. Most of the animals that I either worked with or the folks that were under me worked with, and I had really good knowledge 10 years ago about. Now I have general information about some of them a little bit more than others, but I don't have that specifics because I'm not working with them on a day-to-day basis anymore.
No, that makes sense. But it's still cool that you seem to really get it, and come from that side. I agree. I think when I meet people in higher up positions and they're like, yeah, so I, worked in finance for 10 years and now I'm, going on the local news and showing a clouded leopard. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I come to this world not from the animal side, but I'm learning a lot of that and get to be hands-on with a lot of stuff. So I do think it's very possible to do it. But I do definitely, to me, you're right. It's all about the welfare of the animal first. So the more knowledge and background you have with that, the better off you are. What kind of decisions do you have to make? I know I've talked to a lot of directors and CEOs at smaller facilities, and they literally will authorize every euthanasia or, transfers and stuff like that. How much of that rests on your shoulders at a place that's this big, and how much of that is it, curators or whatever?
Usually the decision to euthanize an animal always has to be made by the veterinarian. However, our staff works really closely together. Our animal staff is usually in conversations with the veterinarians, especially at end-of-life type scenarios for weeks, months. Sometimes we're talking about it for years. And they make the decision. Now, oftentimes they'll keep me informed on, hey, this is what's happening. This animal is in decline, age-related, or not. Maybe it's some other health issue. But I never make that decision myself. I might chime in and say, boy, it seems like it might be the time, but they make the decision, not me.
Cool. So in general, you must really trust your staff.
Sure.
That's the vibe that I'm getting from everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
What do you put into building a culture here?
Well, culture is always something. I wish you could say, oh, we've done it. We've reached that point. And we have been getting better and better every year, but there's so many things that are involved in culture. And honestly, every single person has a different outlook on what is a perfect culture. So it's really difficult to make those decisions and rules and regulations, knowing that everybody's different. But all I can say is we continue to put a huge amount of effort into making this a great place to visit, making it a great place to work.
I love that. That's really cool. So we're going to go and see some of the exciting stuff, and in particular, your aquarium, which I know is a huge new thing. I remember we talked about it opening on Zoo News. So we'll talk about that there.
Okay.
But what's next?
So next on the docket, actually, right close to now is Lion Copy. Our African area is 30 years old now, and even though it's mostly in good shape, everything ages. We all age. We all get our wrinkles that need to be improved, and so that's what we're working on now. That it actually started from the zoo is owned by the city, but it's operated by Friends of the Zoo. So the zoo still has a stake in the game. They own everything that we put on it. But they also have some responsibilities, and they gave us $2 million to improve the walkway in our Lion Copy area. And we said, well, why would you just do that? If you're going to be tearing things up, we should look at some other things. So we put in an additional $4 million to make it a better place to see the lions. We expanded our lion viewing area by 30%, made sure it's a place where you can go in the heat of August or the cold of January. So it'll be conditioned airspace where people can hang out, put in new seats. It's all ADA compliant, widen the pathways. But because we widened the lion viewing area, that took out our caracal exhibit. So we had to build a new caracal exhibit. And all of the other animal exhibits down there too, we've improved, gave them either a little bit more space or all of them got new glass, new netting. It'll be great for the animals and great for our guests. That opens up at the end of May. You can actually walk through it right now, but none of the animals are on exhibit, so you can get a little bit of a sneak peek preview. And then after that, our big project is giraffes. So we've had Maasai giraffes here since, way before me. And in 1995, they moved the giraffes down to our African section. But the bad thing is, it was a glorious exhibit back in '95, and it would be perfect if you lived in Florida or Texas. But the problem is, the architects at the time, they were hiding all of the places where the animals spend their evenings, and oftentimes they're somewhat long walks to get back through these corridors for the animals to get to their holding facilities at night. And with giraffes, if you haven't ever worked with giraffes before, they're not necessarily the brightest bulb. So it seems like they need to constantly, if my staff hears this, they're going to be upset because they do an amazing job training. But it seems like they unlearn things almost on a daily basis. And so for them to have to walk from their evening quarters to their exhibit and back every day was oftentimes an issue, and it would take sometimes hours. And because of the fact they're so sensitive to temperatures and the weather, and because they had this long corridor, they were either on exhibit or they were off. And there was no in between. A lot of our other animals, we can give them access. If it's kind of in between weather patterns or a little bit cooler or a little bit hot, they can have access to their back areas. That wasn't the case with giraffes. So we would hear from the public. That was our number one animal related concern. I came to the zoo, it seems like a perfect day, and there's no giraffes out. I love giraffes. They're my favorite animal, and I can't ever see them. So I did the math about 5 years ago and saw that our giraffes were only on exhibit somewhere between 90 and 120 days out of the year. So a third of the year or more, a mega vertebrate that everybody loves was not able to be seen.
Right.
So that's why we're doing this. It's a $22 million project. They've just started digging things around and doing some destruction, and it will open up in hopefully in the spring of 2026.
Nice.
So looking forward to that one.
Very cool. Very cool. Is there a conservation organization that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh, we work with so many. That's something that maybe I'm most proud of over the last 20 years, that how much we've improved on our conservation efforts. We spent about $50,000 when I first got here, and I'm not saying that's $50,000. It is a lot of money, but it really didn't allow us to do a whole heck of a lot with partners out there in the wild. We had a few projects, but not a whole lot of projects. And now, last year we brought in $800,000 towards conservation.
Amazing.
We do it donation wise. We do it as part of the gate fees, membership fees. If you're doing a rental here at the zoo, some of the proceeds go towards conservation. So we've really made this effort. And we've got 19 programs that we're partnered with right now, anywhere from orangutans in Borneo and the Create program there. Wyoming toads is one of my favorites because I'm part of that program. Penguins in Peru, elephants, and I give these I guess symbols of the programs, but when I say it's an elephant program in South Africa, it's not just about elephants. Most of the time it's about that might be the spotlight because everybody loves that animal, but it's really about the entire ecosystem in that area, and just as importantly, working with the communities. If you don't work with the community, if you go in there and say, oh, we're going to save the penguin, and you don't work with the community, it's not going to work.
Right.
So I'm really proud. You asked for one particular one. We work with sea lions in Northern California, sea turtles in Texas. So there's not really one that I'd give a shout out to. It's just all of our partners do a fantastic job.
That's fair. I love that. And then the last thing before we head out is, it's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
Oh, I've got a few, but I'll tell you, since you said poop, I'll tell you one of them. We brought in a couple new chimpanzees about 6 or 7 years ago, I think. And at that point in time, I was the chief zoological officer. I was just, after they got off quarantine and we're down in the building, I wanted to just check in and see how they're doing. And it was towards the end of the day, and all the animals were inside. And I was walking down the hallway and kind of stopped and crouched down and didn't want them to be concerned about my presence. So I wasn't really looking directly at them in the face. But because of that, I wasn't aware that he was getting down. I was really happy because he was getting down from his evening perch and coming to see me. But in the meantime, on his way to come see me, I did not see that he picked up a handful of poop. And just like an amazing softball pitcher, it was an underhand fastball through the mesh and hit me directly in the forehead.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Let's go check some stuff out.
All right, so where are we now?
So this is Hellsberg Penguin Plaza, and it was our first project that we put together after the zoological district was formed, and we were able to bring in some money that specifically helped us to build more buildings and make this a more exciting place.
Nice, very cool.
And so the fall of 2013 is when it opened, and we have several different species of penguins in here. We have Gen 2 penguins, we have king penguins, we have chin straps, and I'm missing one. Sorry, I always forget about our Humboldts that are over there. And again, we wanted to have a warm species, warm land species, so we could talk about the fact that not all penguins are living on ice sheets their entire lives. And I think because of the fact that historically you think about penguins, you think cold. But there are so many out there that live in warm weather too.
Yeah.
Well, usually all cold water,
Yes.
but warm land around them. So this building was put together for the penguins, but we also have some other areas in here to kind of get you in the aquatic mood. And this is before our aquarium was built. So we have a lionfish tank over here. We've got a jelly tank. We've got another tank over here that used to be schooling fish, but we changed that recently since we have a schooling fish tank down at the aquarium. So just put you in the nice, peaceful aquatic realm. Everybody seems to love penguins.
Yes.
And we've done quite well.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I volunteer at Aquarium of Niagara, and like I said, Zoe is a relief vet there, and we have Humboldt penguins.
Okay.
And it's really cool talking to people about the warm weather aspect of it. The water is cold. The first time I put on a wetsuit and got in that water, they warned me, and I was like, "No, they're warm." Oh, it was cold. But I've seen some of these species, but I have not been like around a lot of these species, and seeing them all together is really cool.
Yeah, they have their little spaces, especially when it's breeding season. It's kind of funny because you'll see the gentoos are fiercely protective of their 2-foot diameter circle. But for the most part, and they do have different sections of the exhibit that they prefer to stay in. The gentoos and the macaronis and the chin straps are more on the left-hand side. The king penguins will spend it on the right-hand side. I have no idea why, but for the most part, they all will get along pretty well.
Very cool. So what is this? I was told we're going out on an ice shelf.
Yeah, we're going to go behind the scenes here and actually go in the exhibit with the birds. So,
fantastic.
This is not going to be minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit in there that some of these birds might experience. We keep it at 40 degrees, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which is towards the upper end of what they would see in the wild. But I think most people don't really understand that penguins do come from even the ones that are in colder habitats. It does get warm too, warmer than most people would think. So we're going to head on in there and spend a little time out with the birds.
Sounds good. Let's do the thing.
Okay, that's back this way.
Cool. Oh my God. This is incredible already. Look at all the different birds.
Okay, we're going to head out to the middle here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, king penguins, though. Oh, my gosh. Hi, buddy. This is incredible. Hi.
Hello.
So ordinarily, I give a spiel. Anybody who comes out here, before we come out, I tell you about the animals themselves. But we had such a break in the action. Sometimes the birds will hear people over there, and they'll start crowding you, and then it becomes more difficult to get out.
That's fair.
So, as I said, when we were outside, we have king penguins. They're the second largest penguin in the world behind emperors. Believe it or not, emperors can stand about a foot taller than the king penguins. All these ones with the yellow tufts of feathers on top of their head, those are macaroni penguins.
Okay.
And there's a really cool story there. SeaWorld San Diego was looking for some help. They didn't have enough hands to raise eggs one year, and they put a call out, anybody interested? And we said, yeah. And so we had a curator that flew out to California and flew back and had an incubator and on a seat beside him loaded full of penguin eggs. and then we hand raised all of them. And the original ones were all named after cheeses. And I don't know why the staff did that, but to each their own.
Maybe because macaroni and cheese, I guess?
Right.
Well, so I have to tell you, I've never met king penguin, chinstrap penguin, macaroni penguin.
So as you can see,
that's crazy.
Some of the birds are much more attuned to people. If you'd like to, you can certainly touch this one.
Hi. Hi.
He's about to sing to you, by the way, just so you know.
Good.
It's coming.
You can sing.
I know, that was beautiful.
Good job, bud. Oh, this is incredible.
So the Gen 2 penguins are the ones that look like they have white earmuffs.
Mm-hmm.
We have the most of them, 30, 35, help me out. There we go.
That's amazing.
I'm glad
I've actually
you're
never
out
met
here.
Gentoo either. This is incredible.
Those are the sort of... I heard you.
You're going to be on a podcast.
Those are the sort of day-to-day facts that I often miss out on now.
Sure.
When we first started, I told you that we opened up in the fall of 2013. We knew that the building was going to be built back in 2011. It took us 18 months to build it. And I called up the Penguin SSP tag and said, hey, we're going to build this fascinating new building. It's possible that he'll interrupt the entire time. Can I start? I just wanted to notify you so we can get some penguins in here. And he kind of laughed at me over the phone. It is kind of funny. I don't know if you could tell there, but maybe you'll get that on tape. There was a little bit different
It's a
level. So you can tell the penguins apart.
No, I 100% knew it was a different person singing. Hi.
Anyway, so it's we ended up being the Ellis Island. We were the Ellis Island of penguins when we first started. It was bring us your sick, your poor, your needy. We had, I think we had at the time like 6 king penguins and like 36 gentoos. Just a little bit deeper voice.
Yeah. Yep.
But since then we've built the entire population in here.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Okay, let's go out this way a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Where do you see any of the chin straps?
Yes. Oftentimes they're in the water. There's one right there.
Okay. Perfect. Just had to make sure I saw one. This is so cool.
It's almost feeding time for them, so they're all getting ramped up. We do a little bit differently than some other facilities do. We hand feed our birds. I know there are facilities that will put pans of food out, but the way I look at it, by having our staff actually individually feeding the birds, we know who gets what every day. And so you recognize who might be off a little bit.
Right.
And penguins in general, if they're molting or if they're in their breeding season, they might not eat normally.
Right.
But that's a normal thing. We're more looking for, hey, why isn't that bird eating and everybody else is?
Right. No, totally makes sense. I think the more hands-on, within reason, and obviously depending on species and stuff, but when we're talking about penguins, the more data you have, that helps with animal care, like in a big way, you know?
So when we built this place, it's about a 100,000-gallon pool.
Okay.
And we decided to build it long as opposed to really deep. I know some other places out there will have some deeper pools that might be 20, 30, 40 feet deep.
Right.
But to me, it was more important to allow the birds to get up to speed, especially the Gentoo penguins. They can get up to 20, 25 miles an hour.
That's incredible.
And seeing them, and there are some times where almost every single one of them are in the water, and they're speeding through here and porpoising in the water, and that's exactly what we intended to have happen.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I did see when we were looking in here before we came in, one of them going full speed, and then they shot up and they jumped all the way up to one of the back rocks.
Yeah.
And that's jumping 3 times their height. And that's incredible. To see that natural behavior and see it here is really cool.
We weren't really intending for them to get up on that back wall, but penguins will find a way.
Penguins are going to penguin.
Right. We did build little pop-up holes, though, so you'll see them jump right out of the water. It was kind of funny when we first opened, they didn't quite get their landing gear figured out.
Sure.
So you'd see them overshooting this little peninsula or landing and falling, but now they pretty much all figured it out.
That's awesome.
Like I said, 45 degrees in here.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
And 45 degrees in the water, so it's cold.
Yeah.
But it's not 32 degrees Antarctic cold.
No, yeah, it's I'm comfy. It's cold, but I'm comfy.
I should have told you too that we've never actually had anybody fall in. So Don't let this be the first.
I was going to say, is that a challenge?
So this is our new aquarium. I say new, about a year and a half old. The Sabella Ocean Aquarium. And if people on the podcast are wondering what the Sabella means, it's the initials of the grandkids of our biggest donor.
Seriously? That's so cool. I actually really like that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Although we do get some people asking, well, where's the Sabella Ocean? It's right here. It's right here.
It's right here. And it is big.
So it is right around 650,000 gallons total.
Okay.
We've got 34 exhibits in here. And the idea is that you start off on the coast in really shallow waters. You work your way down through the lagoons and through the deeper parts of the ocean. Then you work your way back up another coastal system. So it is just one big loop inside of here. We did, even though it's the most expensive exhibit that we've ever done at $77 million.
Holy cow.
That's all in, so everything included. But I hate to even say it this way, but there's only so much 77 million will buy. So
sure.
We spent a lot of time with the architects designing and figuring out what animals we wanted and what scenes we wanted, what themes we wanted. And I'm really proud of the work that we did and what we ended up with. I think it's a great addition to what we have at the zoo.
Pause. What are you doing here?
Do I have to say hi?
Oh my God!
How are you?
It's time for interrupting John.
Okay, so if you're wondering what the heck that was, that's what a hug sounds like with a microphone on. And the person that you heard us all being excited about is someone you've heard of on the podcast before, but not heard on the podcast. Y'all, that was Shanae Anderson. And if you kind of recognize the name, that'd be from last week's episode at Sedgwick County Zoo. Shanae is the curator of education and farms. She was not the one that I interviewed last week, but she was the one that gave Zoe and I the private cart tour that I said was absolutely amazing. So how fun was it to run into her at the Kansas City Zoo? And she had some very special students with her, and you're going to hear a little bit of them now. And this was just such a fun, random, unexpected encounter. So enjoy.
You just said you're...
We did a tour.
Did you follow that? Did you jump in their trunk?
Yeah, well, seriously. I just saw you and I was like, wait, what?
I'm like, wait a minute.
What are you doing here? Just hanging out?
We spent the night at the aquarium. We have about 15 of our zoo science students from Friends here
very cool.
tonight.
Oh my goodness.
So we came yesterday, spent the night at the aquarium. We're hanging out for a little bit this morning and then heading out.
Amazing. It's so good to see you. All the way from Sedgwick County.
Have a good time last week? Good.
We've had the team did an outstanding job for us. As a matter of fact, they said they were kinder to us than I probably would have been to them. I mean, we spent the night for $15 a piece, and
Wow.
they really did a great job.
That's awesome.
So
Glad we could have a good program for Sister Zoo.
Yeah, that's right. You guys did a great time. Did you guys have a fun time at the rest of the zoo?
We loved it.
Did you get to see the farmers parade at 4:30?
No, but the reason we didn't was because we spent so long at the farm hanging out with the animals.
Yeah.
We were holding baby goats. We had a good time.
Well, we listened to your podcast on the way up here.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Hey, y'all. John from Rossifari. Yeah. How's it going? Very cool. Yeah. How was your sleepover here? Yeah. Awesome.
Did you get any sleep?
We actually.
Oh, I like that. Yes. No comment.
Good.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear. Okay. That's fair.
Didn't get through the movie.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So, favorite animal in the aquarium here?
Southern stingrays.
Ooh, love it.
Octopus.
Great choice.
The sea turtle was neat.
Nice. Sea turtles are one of my favorite animals too. So that was good. Yeah. Also, this is Sean. He's the executive director here, and one of his favorite species, one of his two favorite species is octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
good
first
choice.
animals that I've ever worked with.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. So when you're ready for a job, if Sedgwick County isn't hiring, I know somebody who you can butter up with octopus facts.
You're gonna make them going to make us go.
I said if they're not hiring,
We're poaching them.
we know. All AZA facilities love each other.
That's
I
right.
did not mean to bomb your
No, this was incredible. You're all going to be on the podcast now.
That I saw all of you guys here. So see, that's the one thing, the great thing about Kansas, which we consider you guys the Kansas crew.
We're close enough.
You have it in the name.
All of us work so closely together that this is not an uncommon thing for us to see each other at different zoos, because that partnership, especially through AZA, is one of the key elements that makes all of us go from good to great.
Right.
And if they needed anything or if we needed anything, all of us are here for each other all the time. It's a great relationship. I think it's one of the best state type of relationships anywhere in the United States.
I would agree. Yeah.
Really.
We're all, we all have our needs of bringing in as many people as we possibly can to our facilities, but we all work together for common goals.
Wait, before we leave, we have 2 new people. Quick, favorite animal in the aquarium, go.
Octopus, but that's a really hard decision.
Fair, but good choice. Favorite animal in the aquarium, go.
Favorite animal in the aquarium?
Favorite animal in the aquarium, go.
Flounder.
Flounder?
Nice.
Yeah.
Explain.
They're
I'm glad
flat
you
and they're
found it.
goofy looking.
I love it so much. Thank you. Nice job, y'all.
All right. Have a good,
This
have a
was
good
so
day.
fun. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Great job, guys.
Flounder's great.
Flounder is a great answer. Oh, I like that so much.
That's an unusual one because I would say 80 to 90% of people that come through here miss the flatfish because they blend in.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, friends. So here is the deal. Sean and Zoe and I then went on a tour of the entire aquarium, exhibits, life support, all that stuff. And it's longer than the entire episode that you just listened to. And I know that we all have lives and you know, we like these episodes to be 40 minutes to an hour. So I am going to cut this interview off here for now. And then I am going to edit the aquarium part separately. And I don't know how much of that time will actually be content versus how much will just be us, you know, breathing as we walk through the aquarium or me getting excited about seeing a sea turtle or something. So depending on that, it will either be next week's episode or I may drop it as a bonus episode this week because we don't want to lose that great content, but we also don't want to, you know, this isn't going to be our War and Peace episode, right? So with that said, I am incredibly, you know, thankful to the team at the Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium. It was amazing to get to spend time with so many cool animals. Not only did we get penguin time and the aquarium tour, but then we also got to hang out with Nikopo the tree kangaroo and some dingoes and some kangaroos. And it was just a fantastic trip. And everyone at that facility was awesome. You know, it's the zoo that I've wanted to go to for the last couple of years the most. And I was right, y'all, and I can't wait to get back there. And it's so cool to now have a relationship with this facility that I love so stinking much. So, yeah, very cool times. And I'm excited to share the aquarium with y'all. I really am. It's good stuff. So, yeah, that's really all we've got for right now, though. I do want to take a moment to say thank you to my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, and Kevin Williams. And I'd like to remind you all to be back here on Friday for Zoo News and then Tuesday for our next episode, unless, of course, it ends up just being a bonus episode later this week. We'll find out. But until then, remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.